Call meeting to order. Shelley, can you do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Here.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Here.
District 3, Councilman Leatham is absent. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Mariano Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley is absent. Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. I'm going to invite Mr. Burns up for the invocation.
Would you please join me in prayer? Our Heavenly Father, Lord, first of all, we just thank you for all the freedoms that you have bestowed upon this nation. Lord, the freedom to gather here tonight and to discuss and make decisions on our community. Lord, I pray for your wisdom, your knowledge, your discernment over our elected officials, those in positions of authority, and the general public. That, Lord, the things they talk about and the decisions that they make will be beneficial to all concerned. And this we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Freddie, can you lead us in the pledge?
Yes,
please?
Mr. Mayor. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with some of your current events. Mariano, start with you down there.
I don't have anything to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, as you know, our first responders are always hard at work at any given time of the day or night. And I just want to give a special thanks to a couple of departments that helped me out in my district and in my own personal business. First of all, Public Works. I had a constituent that, obviously with all the floods, their driveway was washed out pretty bad. Public Works responded to probably like within a few days from my outreach to the city manager. So, John, thank you for doing that. And thank you, crew. The other one was work related, had an emergency. It was on US 60. It was probably rush hour because there was cars just flying as they always do. And I called the police chief if I could get some assistance, and within 10 minutes I had an officer there protecting my employees from dodging cars. So thank you, chief, for that quick response as well. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Freddie. Mike?
Mr. Mayor, it's just been kind of staying up with the constituency out there. There's a lot of concerns, and then I've sat and talked with many of them, and I've indicated to them that right now we're real busy, and we'll just keep the list over here, and John and I'll get together when he gets all caught up, which might be another 6 months, but we'll get together. That's it.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few things. First of all, I just want to remind people that businesses are starting to open back up, thankfully, and it's been a really quick turnaround. So far, Salinas has reopened over the weekend. El Ranchito opened up today. 60 Motors opened last Monday, I believe. And La Casita, I talked to Annie, and she's planning on first week in November, possibly the second week in November. She's waiting for an oven that she has to order. So make sure that if you get a chance to go visit any of the businesses that are reopening, and give them a warm welcome back. And then second, we all know that the Halloween downtown has been canceled. The Downtown Association decided not to put it in another location. So I came up with 4 different alternatives. The first one is a trick or treat at Copper Rim Elementary School, and that's Thursday evening from 5 to 7 o'clock. The second one is a Halloween festival at 1100 East Monroe Street. That's a Halloween day or evening from 6 to 8 o'clock. And if you bring one canned food item, it gets you into the haunted house. And then there's a trick or treat at the Globe Christian Center on 509 East Maple Street. And that's Halloween evening at 6 o'clock. And the fourth one is a trick or treat at Mountain Gate Estates, 8958 South Six Shooter Canyon Road. And they're starting at 6 o'clock until they run out of candy. So there's a few things that are going on. So if you want to take your kids out, or even adults, I might go hit a few. But go ahead and do that. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Got just one or two. I have an announcement on the annual fiesta for Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Church in Miami. It's going to be held November 9th, so a week from Sunday. It'll be from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. There'll be lots of food, entertainment. We have a main raffle, 50-50, a live auction, silent auction, a lot of baskets that you can bid on, Sweet Tooth Crafts, and we'll have a beer garden. And again, lots of music there for that day, November 9th in Miami, 844 Sullivan Street for the annual fiesta. And then I just want to, as things are winding down a little bit, the dust is settling, I just want to again thank and commend our staff for all the work they've done the last couple of weeks to get us to a point where now we've transitioned from the external staff that came in to help us to internally taking over from here on out. It's been a learning curve. I mean, you know, you're dealing with a disaster, and then at the same time you're learning what the guidelines, what the requirements are, what everything in order to get, you know, reimbursement, which hopefully will pay off in the future. So again, I just want to commend all the departments for their work in the last couple of weeks. Hopefully they'll get a little bit of time off and some rest to move forward. And that's all I have.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, agree with you. Like I say, the emergency management team from outside has left. We have the building back to ourselves, but we're keeping the process going, and still a lot to accomplish. Trying to, you know, transition back some of the projects. We had a meeting in Public Works and did a lot of reprioritizing what needed to happen, what's going to have to wait. And it's just there, like I say, a lot of questions out there. I would say anybody that says that government doesn't move fast, we've been moving very fast. Trying to keep up. Our private sector friends are moving very quick to get things open. We're trying to keep that pace, but be patient with us as we try to, you know, bring the programs forward and get storm damage rather than flood damage. We're still working on flood damage, and then we will get back to our storm damage repairs and then, you know, go back to the projects that to advance the city. But we're keeping our pace and keeping things going, and we'll get there one way or the other. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. We have our first community call to the public. This is the time anybody wishing to address the council with any concern can do so. Just a reminder that council at that time and call to the public cannot respond to the presenter, but can direct staff to follow up. There is a 3-minute time frame for comments. So I do have 2 call cards. First one I have is Dan Fisher, A&E Builders. If you want to come up, state your name.
Good evening, Town Council and Mayor. I'm Dan Fisher with A&E Builders. We are a KB1 builder. We're very grateful to be here to offer our assistance. We provide both commercial and residential. We have teams ready to assist. And what I've done is put some folders at the back of the room there that include a preliminary damage assessment and some information about our company. Eddie has been doing this for over 28 years in Arizona, and we also serve Texas and New Mexico. So we would love to meet with engineers and see what we can do to expedite and get people back in businesses and homeowners. So I appreciate your time, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, David Berry.
First off, I'd just like to thank my tenant for helping out so much. Roger and his family have been working diligently to get their business reopened. It's been a really good working relationship to try to get them reopened as quick as possible. In addition to that, I have 3 other buildings. The one next to La Casita, which I'm currently working on making sure that I don't slow them down in their reopening process. And that's why I'm dirty right now, is moving mud today, trying to make sure that they're taken care of and make sure that they're ready for operation. I do have some concerns with the Globe Miami United Fund and the transparency on it. I've been informally told that as a property owner, I'm not eligible for the initial $5,000 that's really necessary to be able to open up the other 2 businesses that were affected at the corner at the old Republican building. Trying to find public information on that is not very accessible. And at the initial vote, the last meeting for the MOU, the documents weren't available for the public for the eligibility requirements. So if the staff can clarify if property owners will be deemed eligible, that'd be greatly beneficial, because those funds are needed to be able to assist my tenants in opening up their businesses. I've tried to contact Local First. I haven't gotten a response back from them specifically addressing who is eligible. I've gotten a verbal response, not a written one, and I haven't gotten any response back from the Globe Miami United Fund on who's in charge of accepting these. Who's actually making the decisions on where these funds go and how they're allotted. So I think that transparency is key for the public to have faith in the process, and to make sure that those funds go to everybody that had their businesses and properties damaged. So I'm trying to clarify things and like to make sure that I can assist the city in reopening. I had substantial damage to a number of my buildings, and I've been working diligently to try to get those operational so downtown Broad Street can reopen again in its full capacity. The amount of damages I took personally, I just got a report back from the SBA office that I had $773,000 in damages to my properties. So it's been quite substantial, and that burden on one person for a catastrophic event is a little bit too much, and the assistance would be greatly appreciated. So if the council can make sure that property owners are eligible for those initial $5,000 grants, that'd be very beneficial for getting the downtown open again. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Next, we have special presentations and ceremonial matters. We have a presentation for the VFW Buddy Poppy Proclamation for VFW Post 1704, and I'll read that proclamation. VFW Buddy Poppy Proclamation. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922. And whereas VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used to exclusively for the benefits of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living. Therefore, I, El Gamero, Mayor City of Globe, do hereby urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support through your donations for Buddy Poppies on the day set aside for the distributions of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of the honored and dead. And I'll invite Mr. Anthony up and present that.
There goes your smile.
Just want to continue to thank the community for helping our VFW stay alive. We're members are getting old, and we're keep on trucking. So we're still here for you, and we'll keep working for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Oh, cool. Put that in my truck. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right.
Thank you, Anthony, that's yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it, man.
And thank you for your service.
And thank you guys for your service and everything you do for the community. Item B is staff will present a flood recovery update to council.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, there, like I say, we're, you know, at the, about the month point here, a little bit past that. And I know that we've been getting questions, you've been getting questions. We have staff here to answer questions and a couple of things that we've been, working on. But I'd like to start by asking council, you've been talking to people, questions that you have that you'd like to share and get public responses from our staff and help, you know, get the information out, straighten out. You know, it's a very complex process, and we're here to answer your questions. We got a couple things we'll probably go over in the end, but I'd like to start with council questions.
Yeah, I think an explanation of what DEMA and state funds means and what the federal funds, FEMA funds, I guess the breakdown as to where does that funding go? I think I guess the message that we've been trying to put out there is there's not gonna be a lot of funding coming back through DEMA or FEMA. It's gonna be through, and again, hopefully you'll explain that a little better.
Yeah. No, it's a complex, so Danny, our finance manager, is gonna respond to that question, so. Danny,
Mayor,
go ahead.
council. DEMA is state funding, and if we qualify, which is a $7 million threshold, if we meet that $7 million threshold worth of damages, then the state will reimburse 75% and we'll do 25. So the city will pay 25% of any expenses that are considered reimbursable. Not everything necessarily could be reimbursable. They make that decision. If we meet the $13 million threshold of damages, and at that point, it's possible, not guaranteed, but possible that 90% will be reimbursable at that point, because it will be 75% from the federal, and then the state will do 15%, and then we'll be responsible for 10% of the reimbursements, or the payments. Everything has to go through insurance first for the personal expenses, like the towings and the damages to buildings. You have to go through your insurance first. Anything other than that, I mean, ours is just mainly infrastructure. That's our main concern. And what a lot of ours is the bridges and things of that nature. And they won't reimburse they won't reimburse anything over what we had prior to. So like a bridge, if it's damaged, they'll bring it back up to what it was prior to the flood. They won't completely replace it. So if it's replaced, then we have to do the majority of it.
So I guess just a further explanation. So you're saying the $7 million is the threshold for the state for 75-25. And you talked about reimbursement and assessments, but is that money, is that for public infrastructure? Is that private infrastructure? What is that for?
It's all public infrastructure. There's no private assistance with the state at all. They do offer the SBA loans, once we hit that threshold, which we have hit that threshold, so we've got the SBA here. But as far as reimbursement goes, it's not gonna reimburse any individuals. As far as the city, it will reimburse.
Yeah, we talk infrastructure and public infrastructure, we're talking, sewer lines, water lines.
Bridges, roads.
Creeks, I don't know, roads.
Yeah.
I don't know if roads is included, overtime, all the personnel, so that's what we're talking about. So it's nothing the city is gonna make money on, it's the city is requesting reimbursement for what's been spent.
Yes.
and At a cost of $75.25.
And we have to pay for it before, and it could be several years before we even get reimbursement. Even if we qualify, it could be several years before we actually get reimbursement from federal or state, whichever we qualify for.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's gotta be, public infrastructure that's not like insured or replaceable. We had heard early on that the county was looking at almost 30 million in road damage, across the county, but, and I'm not sure if I have my numbers right, but a lot of that was discounted because there were other options other than DEMA and possibly FEMA that could repair that. So if let's say that the Yuma Bridge, we've been trying to get money for Yuma Bridge from ADOT or from the state or anything like that. If we were to get that money and get that bridge replaced, we would not be reimbursed for that because we got the money from somewhere else. It's for those hard costs that pull away from everything we were planning and spending on, and now we're having to go back and repair and replace infrastructure. All of the rescue and time and effort, all that is reimbursable, again, at the rates, but it's all public infrastructure. But I think Fire Chief, someone to add to this.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, with the state funding, so if we meet the state threshold of the 75% cost share by the state, 25% by us, that is all, as has been stated, that is all public assistance, meaning it's meant to replace infrastructure, to bring infrastructure back up to what the standard was at the time of the event. Under a federal declaration, there are two programs. There's public assistance, and then there's individual assistance programs. The public assistance program, and there are two separate programs. Sometimes you qualify for one, sometimes you qualify for both. Sometimes you may not qualify at all, depending on the declaration. But the public assistance program would go towards replacement of infrastructure at that 90% cost share, meaning, and it basically, I think it breaks down to 75% by the federal government, 15% by the state, 10% by the government entity that's impacted. The individual assistance being a separate program, that would open up assistance to individuals and individual property owners, and I think primarily residential property owners, but I'm not 100% positive on that one, towards some of the recovery costs that they may have incurred. But that again only comes with a federal declaration. So you have to, and it's not guaranteed that if you get a public assistance declaration that you'll get an individual assistance declaration. So they're two separate things.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, so Gary, and that is limited at 50,000 at
It is.
at best. And then but it has a very complex application process. We're under a very complex application process. Time, date, place, we're talking about debris. Where did we pick it up? Where did we drop it off? How did we haul it? Who did what? Maintenance, and many records we had to supply with bridges, roads, and our sewer line showing, that we kept it in good repair and the condition. And we haven't seen this yet, but what everyone tells us is that there is a C requirement for records and for making sure that things are done right and that documentation. So it's you know, they're definitely, it's federal money and it has all the things that come with federal money, which is requirements and checks and balances. They're trying to make sure it's not waste, fraud, and abuse. They're trying to make sure that, you know, the money goes to the right thing, but it can be onerous to apply.
And it's almost all related back to reimbursement, not upfront money.
Just some comments, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm relying on experience. 2 years is the average window for reimbursement. And that's a mean number. I never liked that when it's a federal delegation, a federal type of declaration. There's another component, and it raises my hopes a little bit, called hazard mitigation. When you put in for reimbursement, just as an example, say we design a bridge, but if we had extra riprap, it would be stronger, better for the next flood. They take a look at that at the federal level. So hazard mitigation is something we need to take a look at in building back better anything in our infrastructure that we can. So to make it stronger, bigger, better is what hazard mitigation is all about. And some entities have already laid money away for us to draw from under that title. So it's out there. It's another long process, but if you do apply on the federal level, that's when I want to keep a sharp eye on so that we can build back better. And that's a component at the federal level. But it is a long process. Everything we're doing on the private donation side, I've never seen before. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. And we need to rely on that to speed up the recovery of the economy. And I'm all for that. And I really appreciate all the donors. They're fantastic. And as I said, the federal side is going to be a long process. And we have been very, I'll say that on my own, we've been very stubborn about ensuring that we have a reserve in the budget for this literally rainy day fund, because it helps us to continue operations, to continue growth, at the same time going through the long, in my opinion, and a long career in it, laborious process of reimbursement. And it's just a long process, but we've set things in motions to help us do that. And I think I count my blessings when we hear that number every year about the reserve. We had to use it. We had to make decisions along the way. We knew we had the reserve and we had to draw from it. But now's the time to hit up the feds. And as you're seeing, Paul, the process is laborious. They want to see every record backing up your expenses on the life of what it is you're asking reimbursement for. That means fleet management records. That means fuel management records. That means maintenance records. And if you don't have that, then they go back to the FEMA set of rate reimbursement, which is never enough. And I've been through that process. I actually had to do the numbers once and crunch those numbers. And it's just not gotten better. It might be faster in presentation or software, but it's not gotten better. And I have that moment where I'd like to speak to somebody in Washington about that. Why haven't you guys been faster or give us training to let us know that we've got to have our ducks lined up? And there's lots of companies out there more than willing to help us install those things. But the point is, it's a long process. And I wish it wasn't. But every point of my career is once it gets to the state level, then it gets to the federal level, it's a long, laborious process. And I wish it wasn't. So anything we can do to help our staff to get past that is what I'm all for. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor. So just going back, and I think going along with what you're saying, that's, looking at it from the outside, because I wasn't involved in the incident command team and all the processes they're going through. I could imagine the things you had to go through. It is a frustrating process. It seems like the state, their level, they come up with more things to make you fail than they help you through the process. That's from the outside looking in. And that's the thing that we need to push to our legislators, to our governor and legislators, is the process is not easy, and it needs to be addressed, somehow looked at, to make it, we're going through a disaster and we're doing on-the-job training, trying to figure out what they wanted, from even dirt removal, moving dirt. Yeah. How critical that was. And then to get to the federal level, you're saying that there's public assistance for infrastructure, but there's individual, and that individual, that would go to residential and business then?
I think the individual assistance, if I'm not mistaken, only goes to residential. I don't think there's anything related to commercial businesses. I don't think there's anything related to commercial business. I think that's a residential program. Again, a reimbursement, and the max on that is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 50,000.
50,000. So, and we go back, and I think this is something that needs to be brought at the state level, is nobody prepares for a disaster. And we're very fortunate that we had a fund balance in order to put out, I don't know how much we spent already, and hopefully getting back 75 or 90% of it to keep our city going. But we're fortunate, but there's other cities out there that don't have that amount of money to just spend money to keep your city going, because we've had a lot, and we're still dealing with sewer breaks, we're still dealing with water breaks and stuff like that. So that's going to go on for a while. But again, the money we spent, you're saying, could be a year or 2 years down the road that we even see any reimbursement.
Very true.
So on the flip side of reimbursements, now let's talk about the residents. Let's talk about our local businesses. I get that we're talking about getting our infrastructure back in order and those kinds of dollars and availability. But on the private sector, I know that we have some organizations that are taking donations. Are we putting that information out there so that individuals or other businesses or other cities, I can tell you my company is one of them, that is looking to provide some money for the local residents in some capacity. So can we get that message out? And because I fear that our residents might get wrapped up in what we're trying to do, and they're thinking that some of those resources are for them or available to them, which would really create a lot of frustration. So can you speak to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question, Councilman Rios and Mayor and Council. So there's two different programs that funders have come to help support, and that's the Residential Relief Grant Program that's being facilitated by the Salvation Army, and then there's the Business Relief Grant Program that's being facilitated by Local First Arizona. Now, the United Fund of Globe Miami has come forward and it began with a grant challenge. The board had set aside $50,000 for each program to match any grants up to that amount, and we exceeded that. And so we had mentioned some numbers the last time, and the fund is growing. So it's not growing as fast as it had in the first few weeks. And again, these are also pledges. This is funding that has not yet come in. So when we're getting questions, why isn't the money going out the door? Well, the money will go out as soon as the donations have been received, and as soon as the application process is complete. So the the residential program is a little bit different. That's probably going to be a little bit more long-term, given there's less applicants coming to the table. But what we are seeing is, and that doesn't mean that there's not the need, it's just that the applicants haven't come to the table to seek those resources yet. And we're seeing new people come every day. We're 4.5 weeks past the event, and we're seeing people come into the Salvation Army office and say, what is there? Because they were busy helping neighbors, they were busy helping other people, the businesses, and now it's time to help themselves. So with that application, it is available only in person, and that's at the Salvation Army office on Cedar Street. You go in and you talk to staff, and they sit down and do an intake with you, and then they ask you, what expenses have you incurred? That funding is available for reconstruction costs, materials, and/or labor, and because of the APS contribution for the residential side, which was 250,000. So it went from the maximum per household, and again, this was based on anticipated numbers of households that were impacted, because we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to access these resources. So initially it was $4,500 per household, but now with APS coming to the table, that went up to $7,500 per household. And again, that funding is given out based on documentation that the homeowner provides. Again, have you incurred these expenses? Drywall seems to be a popular one. So if they have receipts for drywall and any of the other supplies needed to put that up, then they can bring in the receipt for either reimbursement, or if they have a quote, say they're working with a licensed contractor, not that you need one to do drywall, but you can use one. And so you bring that quote in, and then the funding is dispersed to the licensed contractor. Now, the work can be done if the work can be done under code, whether it's in Globe, Miami, or Gila County, utilizing a handyman, then that handyman has to be licensed, bonded, and insured. So again, case by case basis. It's not a black and white. The staff at Salvation Army is so good to sit down with the homeowners and find out what exactly do you need. We're still seeing that people need help, cleaning, just getting down to a baseline, figuring out what kind of repairs they're needing. And so our staff, I have to give a shout out to Connie and Pam, have been looking for additional resources that are still there, because we had such a wonderful influx of volunteers and organizations in the very beginning, the first couple of weeks. Well, there's been other disasters, Tempe, and so those resources aren't as readily available, but there are some, and so Connie and Pam are looking for those organizations and how they can help. On the business side,
Linda, just
Oh, yes, sir.
I think another question and frustration is
Sure.
being denied is for people that have damage in their property, maybe a wall fell or dirt, or their roof is leaking. Those are not qualified. It has to be flood related.
Correct.
Residential.
Yes, there is a difference between storm damage and flood damage.
So I got a tail on that. So I have a constituent that's going through this, and they had storm damage.
Okay.
So they're being denied any funds. So people are helping them clean up. They had a wall come down. They live right under the overpass. So all that material came down. So they're not qualified to receive funds for that. So would they go through their homeowner's insurance?
Oh, absolutely. So this is emergency funding. This is funding of last resort. So storm damage, that is usually covered if you do have a homeowner's policy. And I mean, I'm going through it myself. I had big damage on my roof, I had ceilings collapse, and I had a retaining wall, and it was covered under my homeowner's insurance. And so we are, also providing the homeowners, if they don't have a homeowner, and there is a tremendous amount of homeowners that don't have homeowners insurance. Right. And we're seeing that as far as flood insurance for business owners. So what do you do when you're in that situation? Well, that's when you could apply for an SBA loan to address those issues, both as a business owner and as a homeowner. Fantastic interest rates, 30-year terms. It's an avenue in which to stabilize your home. And there's this is going a little further, but with our Tony, our Manfredi, our community development director, he and his team, and our engineers that we brought in, the third-party engineers, to take a look at both residential and commercial properties to see if they are safe, if they're viable. There are some structures that, in order for them to become habitable, or both as a residence and as a business, that they will have to seek additional structural engineering assessment to what is it gonna take to get your red or your yellow tagged property to a green tag, ready to move in, ready to open for your business. And we met yesterday with the Arizona Commerce Authority and they are reaching out to state associations for structural engineers if they would be willing to volunteer their services for these impacted home and business owners to come in and provide that resource. Now, if these, and that's whether they qualify for these other programs or not, whether it's storm or flood damage. But if the property owners do qualify for one of the local programs through Salvation Army or Local First, they can apply for the funding to help support that assessment as well.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, there was an email that came in that was more relevant to this discussion. And the question was, will be any help for those on Just Hayes, on other hard hit areas that have to demolish their homes due to the flood because they're no longer livable? And again, that where they're, need to be demolished, the help. Linda, did you want to respond to that, or?
Well, we actually have a meeting. There is a resource that I don't feel we're well versed enough to talk about. It's the meeting on I think it's next week on the 3rd. Okay. And this is a federal program that I think Mariano is familiar with, a past iteration of it, that there may be program available to buy out these properties so that they can move on, whether they move their business or they move and are able to rebuild or buy another home.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of council, the federal government, like say, if you're building in a flood zone, the chances that it will be flooded again, like say, they'd rather see those homes removed from that flood zone. But
Yeah,
Councilor Rios.
I think that kind of goes to my follow-up question to that. Does that mean a buyout? Does that mean it's now condemned, that property?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't, condemnation is a legal term, so it would buy them out, and then the program, so the structure would be demolished, and then the property, as we understand now, the ownership would revert back to this municipality in which it lies.
It's the 75-25, it's the NRCS program.
Yeah.
It's the buyout program.
Get up here.
Come on, Kendall, join the party.
While he's coming up, I just wanted to comment on that, Mr. Mayor. The history of the buyout program through FEMA was because of the Mississippi River keeps flooding. And back in the day, after one or two iterations of that, FEMA realized it was just cheaper to buy out a property and move them elsewhere. And so that did occur in Winkleman Flats. And the history on that was that it was the rules at that time just said, we're going to offer you the value of your property, what it was the day before the flood.
Yes.
Here's the money. And 99% of those residents did do that. There was one who did not. He didn't get anything. But the point is, they did buy them out successfully. They returned the land back to the town of Winkleman with the stipulation that it could not ever be developed for homes. But if you go down there, there are baseball fields and there are things like that down there. That's allowable. But that was a history moment that occurred in Arizona. So there's a new iteration of it. Now I'll turn it back to you, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, can you talk a little bit about, you're talking about Just Hayes Road, and you're talking about, if they exceed 50% or whatever, they tear it down. So if they rebuild, they need to understand that if you rebuild new, you're gonna have to go under FEMA standards and build to floodplain regulations, and I guess would be Clomars, making sure that you can't just build at the same elevation you have now. Now you become a FEMA requirement, I guess. Is
Now,
that correct?
is what you're saying that the homeowner is taking it upon themselves to improve their property without any type of assistance? Now, there is if they are doing this with funding that is federally backed, then they may not be able to because it is in the flood zone. Again, it's a case-by-case basis.
And I spoke to
Pardon me?
An insurance probably wouldn't cover it.
Yes, go ahead, please do.
So that NRCS program, we can also apply to that, and it will improve our bridges, any erosion, any sediment we have to pull out of the creek. There is a 60-day window on that for us to apply. We already have all the letterheads and stuff to go out. We just haven't done it yet. We're still doing some research. But it is a 75-25 match, you're absolutely right. The land goes back to the city because we put the 25% in. With that, they'll also re-engineer that area to where they can improve water flow with that program. So that's part of that.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, that was the second half of the question that was emailed is, will the creek along Jess Hayes Road be reinforced and fixed by the city? Or will that be up to the homeowners that live up against the creek? And we deal with the fact that we have some is public land, some is private individual land, some is owned by industry, and getting that straightened out. But I think this project of getting assistance with the dredging and reinforcement of the walls and re-engineering the creek is very, very important. And it's something that, we should look at, as soon as possible, because you just, Mother Nature, you don't know. And I believe that, I think everybody believes a lot of sediment was dropped into Pinell Creek, and we need to address that, so.
And I'll talk about, there was a fire in 85, and there was a house that was destroyed on Jess Hayes Road in 85, and they had to rebuild. But when they rebuilt, they had to go under FEMA standards, and that was in 85. But they had to elevate that house 5 feet off the ground. It still got flooded with this flood, even though it still got water in the house. But back in 85, when they rebuilt, they had to go under FEMA standards and still rebuilt on Jess Hayes.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, so this was the usually FEMA standard is 100-year flood zone. Yep. But this was over a 100-year flood. And so, but we're required to build to the 100-year standard, but this was more than that, plus more complications, so.
Well, just a comment, Mr. Mayor. I think we need to explore this and work with the agencies in question to see if we can do something to the satisfaction of everyone, because it may not happen for another 70 years, but we need to address it now and take a look at negotiating with the feds on this. And it's a viable program or a set of programs, so we need to do it. And I support that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this goes back to the learning process we talked earlier.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are quickly becoming, flood recovery experts by, no choice of our own.
My reading material was 300 pages for the debris and 600 pages for NRCS. The reading material is 300 pages for just the debris portion and 600 for the NRCS. What I wanted to add, NRCS is less stringent on our documentation for these floodplains than FEMA.
Good to know.
So, forgot to add that.
Well, I think as we plan for the future, this is something we need to do, change, as a city, I think we need to change our vision, because we see what the possibilities are now. And we have to address it aggressively in whatever we go forward with, so.
Well, I just.
The potential's there for, again, hopefully not in 100 years, but.
The comment I'd like to make, Mr. Mayor, is we've had a training ground already with a fire and 2 different rainstorms or floods that didn't break out of the channel. So in all of those activities, our staff learned from that and learned how fast things will happen and that they have to be ready for that. Now we're just making it much more, we're making it part of our infrastructure administration, knowing that it can go up to that level. And that's called incident command training. We've been there, done that, now we're gonna formalize it. And that's a good thing to have in place. There are things that we'll have to look at in changing the way we approach the future in our planning, so.
Hey, Mayor, Council, I just wanted to add that the NCRS program is a grant, so it's a separate assistant program, okay? So again, what it'll contend with is that we have to spend our money first and get reimbursed back throughout that whole process, whether it be the waterways program or the component of the buyout. So that would be a huge grant, and we are trying to get with my surrounding community members and trying to see if it's going to be some kind of collaborative or if we're going to do that part on our own, if it's more advantageous for the city of Globe to do that on their own. And then the other thing is, and in the sake of transparency, I just want to make everybody realize that the FEMA declaration that we have yet to have is also a huge grant, but that it would be separate from this NCRS program. Yes, it would be two different federal entities, but they don't go hand in hand. Their reporting processes are different, but the fact still remains that they are federal. However, we have to spend our dollars first in order to be reimbursed back. And yes, we will probably not see money back for a couple years, but we also in the NCRS program, those restrictions are a lot less, so that would be a lot easier for us, where we did on-the-job training with FEMA. And so I just wanted to come up to the podium and explain that, just for the sake of transparency.
Is the NCRS, is that 100% reimbursement?
No, that would be, it would be either 75 because of the DEMA, and then if we get the federal declaration, which we do not have yet, then it would be 90%.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, okay.
Thank you.
You're gonna move to business now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So we covered residential. So with the business program, the city came to the table very early and wanted to help support businesses getting back to being open. And so the city council had set aside $200,000. This went to the United Fund, who is the fiscal agent through all of this, both the residential and the business program. And then the facilitator, the intake partner is Local First Arizona. So the application opened. It's been open just over 2 weeks. The window closes on Friday, on October 31st. And so some of the questions that we've been getting, why hasn't the funding gone out quickly? Well, because the window needs to close. We need to give everybody a chance to apply and have a chance at the funding that's been raised. Because if we say there's 100 businesses and 5 businesses apply, it's day 13, and the disbursements would be quite large, right? Because we only have 5 applicants. But then on the last day, here comes, 70 more applicants. So we need to make it fair and equitable that everyone has a chance. We've done outreach. We've worked with the town of Miami staff to get the word out there on how to apply, if you need assistance to apply. And once a business does apply online, then they receive a call within 2 days and are assigned a case manager with Local First. So Local First has a series of questions. How are you impacted? What is it going to take to get you open? What is your financial situation? How much have you had to come out of pocket? Do you have additional resources? Did you have your own GoFundMe fundraising type of situation, and has that helped you? And some businesses have been extremely successful. We've seen some do well, mostly the restaurants that are really driving this to get open the most quickly. But again, we want to help all those businesses come back to being open. So Local First is going to be working with a group of community members to take a look at all of the applications and what the need is, and then to better, so that the community, and this will also be coming out in community messaging to better understand the criteria. Because when the criteria was set, it was set by the City of Globe, when we worked with our city attorney on how can we get this funding out to our City of Globe businesses, because the city's 200,000 is only available to City of Globe businesses. And so you have to have a business license. You have to attest to be in good standing with ADOR, and you have to have been impacted by the flood path, not necessarily storm damage. And so those are the three criteria. So working with Local First, and then, you know, all these stakeholders, all these additional funders came out of the woodwork, and we were able to grow this, you know, $200,000 fund into, you know, quite a bit more with you know, some fantastic support from like Resolution and Freeport and BHP, APS, of course. And so then we need to what Local First had said is, we can't have a dozen different criterias to make this determination. The City of Globe's criteria were very reasonable. We wanted to make it as easy as possible, as few barriers as possible. And so and it's considered best practice. So Town of Miami is also confirming whether their applicants are business license holders, are in the flood path, and the applicants attest themselves to being in good standing with ADOR. And so this local committee will be looking at the information provided by the applicants, understand the criteria, and then when the window closes, then they will convene to take a look at the applicant pool to make the funding determination together. So it's driven by community members, Local First staff who've been working very closely with the applicants, and then, of course, those applicants have been vetted by the municipality in which they operate. Healy County does not have a business license, so it's Town of Miami and City of Globe.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we learned this, and we knew this from COVID, that the city cannot oversee and manage a grant program like this. This is something that we trust the professionals to do, something they're very good at. We had success with them before, and so they're the ones that are developing the criteria with their system, their oversight, their group, and so that's a level of separation that's really important to the city. Given that it's a regional project.
I had forgotten to mention an important part of that group is a representative from the SBA who's been here, boots on the ground, working, locally with both residential and business applicants. So this person and his staff has a very clear view of what the impact of our events were on our local businesses and homeowners. And so he's sitting on the business side. So perfect timing.
Railroad hasn't contributed any.
Maybe they will now.
Yeah, we'll get them on the phone.
So Councilman Rios, to back to your initial comment, is your company is looking for an avenue into how to best invest your corporate dollars. And so this process has clear stakeholders, the intake partner, separation of duties. So we're being very transparent. The intake partner is Local First, the fiscal agent is the United Fund of Globe Miami, and then the funders have decided where they want their funds to go, because we've had some funders say, well, we want it split 50-50. Some have said we want to see where the need is greatest and then make that determination from there. Some have chosen to fund either the city or the town's businesses and also residences. So the United Fund has to honor donor intention, and so that's very important. We have to monitor that, so to make sure that the funds are dispersed in which way the donors intended.
So I guess what I'm hearing is they can earmark
Yes.
the donors can earmark where they want their funds to go.
Yes, absolutely.
And follow up to, you said there was a group, an organization, the professional groups and some locals Who determines those local participants? Is that through the professional organizations, they reach out? Or-
It was through a suggestion by Local First team, based on the feedback that they were getting. So that it's a community team. It is Mayor Gameros, it is Mayor Madrid, it is the SBA representative, and it is a staff person from the United Fund.
Okay, so community leaders.
Community leaders.
Okay.
And of course, the admin team from Local First.
Okay.
And, oh, go ahead.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, I shouldn't always badmouth DEMA. They do have some good people over there. I want to comment on that. Some of their people in the recovery section were on the ground here already within 3 days. And that cadre of people are experienced inspectors. Some of them are retired engineers and other skill sets in meeting assessments that have to be made in the field. And they also assign these people to shepherd these applications through the processes. You've met with some of them. I already saw and met with some of them during the first 72 hours. So it's not that DEMA is ignoring you. They have a process that they have to go to as well. And so that's important to remember, that the recovery section at DEMA has charge of this. Whether it becomes federal or not isn't even the issue, because we have this cadre, we don't need inspectors from FEMA to come out. That was the whole matter of why the state created the recovery section. In the old days, FEMA would come out, you'd have to wait on them and give them the tour. You know what I'm talking about. But the point is that we no longer had to rely on FEMA to come out, because we developed a recovery section of retired engineers and such to do the inspections on site at the first go-round. So that's the advantage of having that section here at the state. And then it's a pass-through or pass-off of information to federal inspectors when FEMA gets here. So it won't be done twice. It'll be done the first time and done right the first time out. So they will shepherd these inspections through the system.
I'm glad that you mentioned
Yeah.
that, because the Arizona Commerce Authority, who we met with on Monday, they were deployed by DEMA. And so,
yeah,
you know, they're coming in not in the first few weeks of the event. You know, things need to settle and really the community figures out what are our needs. And so our staff sat down with the Commerce Authority staff, and our needs are getting those structural assessments that the property owners who have a red or a yellow tag, how can we get them to how can we get them to green? And so that is why Arizona Commerce Authority is going to reach out to those professional organizations to bring that additional engineering resource into the areas so that they can make their decision, whether they're going to invest in their properties to move back in or back in to operate their business. And I should mention too, the SBA representative being part of this decision-making group, recommendation-making group, is that this person knows so many more resources that are available to these businesses than we're aware. I mean, we're learning every day, absolutely. And so, you know, is this business, could they apply for SBA? Is that the best avenue from them? Should these businesses be looking at SBA in addition to, because if we were to divide the funding, the existing funding that is right now, there's not enough there to make everybody whole. We would have to raise, you know, upwards of $20-30 million. And I mean, we're ambitious, but is it gonna happen by next week? No, it's not going to happen. So having this person come in to open the other options to these community members is very important. What we're also hearing is that some business owners and some residents are not applying for SBA programs because their financials are not in order. They may be behind on their taxes, their books aren't done. So the Arizona Commerce Authority does have a couple of grants for technical assistance. that we could put we could put these residents and businesses into contact to make them ready to apply for other programs. And all they need to do is reach out to myself or Melissa Steele in Economic Development, and we'll make that contact right away. And it's very similar to what we did for COVID, because that was the biggest barrier to getting people ready for the economic injury disaster loan, which is also available through the SBA with this round of programs, that the businesses were not ready to apply. And that's very intimidating. So there are resources out there to help you. I mean, we sat down with businesses and went through shoeboxes of receipts in order to get their financials in order. So our team is ready to do that again.
So they can reach out to you.
Yes, and we'll put them in contact with that technical assistance.
Okay. I have questions, but if you don't mind me going through these.
Sure.
And they might be duplicates. I'm writing as fast as I can. So, and I'll just start with, like, who's eligible for the donations and what's the vetting process? You've already somewhat answered that question. So I just want to.
Mayor, members of council, Vice Mayor, when you say the donations, the donated
For the
money
funding.
to the fund.
The funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have other donations that are still out there that are available. I mean, aren't there donation sites for like cleanup material and things like that?
Oh, yes, definitely.
You wanna just-
But I don't think that's what Councilman is referring to.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Do you want me
can
to
go
answer
ahead
that,
and-
like with cleaning supplies? So the Salvation Army, with the APS funding, they have a full array of funding supplies, utility assistance, food assistance. So these are all additional resources that are available through the Salvation Army. The Gila County Food Bank is another fantastic organization that is ready to help with food insecurity, if that is a concern.
APS also has a program for electrical assistance.
Correct, yes.
So you can apply to APS.
Yeah, through APS directly or through the Salvation Army.
Salvation Army.
And I'm sorry, Mike, can you explain what we had voted on passed about the water, waiving the water fees?
Oh, yeah.
Who does that affect?
Do you want me to cover that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is, who's covered by that are the properties mostly on 400 North Broad and north towards the shopping center. So any property that was using water to help clean up with the cleanup efforts. Just Hayes Road, absolutely. So our community development team had assessed these properties that were in the flood path. And so it's these properties, and they have been notified this week that their would be their October statement has been waived.
Sorry, Mark.
That's fine. And then, like you said, forgive me if I'm duplicating my questions. We all know what the process is for business owners. How do they apply for the first round? The window closes Friday.
So
So
the
how do
window
they
is,
apply for the second round?
it's the same window. So the application prepares them for that first initial disbursement, which is up to 5,000, and then the remaining funding, that's determined by the local committee. And all of the decisions are made based on the information that is provided by the applicant. It's not what a member of the steering committee has heard from individual business owners. It's all about the documentation.
Okay, so what was it? Local First will determine that along with community members?
Yes, that it's a.
United Fund?
No, the United Fund is there to be that advocate for the funders, those who have funded this program, to make sure that their intent was followed. Excuse me, but it's based on recommendations from the case managers, because they're the ones that spoke directly with the businesses, and so each applicant has a a case file that is created, and so that will be gone over by the group.
Okay. And then, will all the funds that were donated to businesses, will that, all of those funds go to the business, or
Oh,
is there gonna be an
absolutely.
excess amount?
No, there won't be an excess because the need is
what I
greater
thought.
than.
So they'll take care of it, divide it out equally
Well,
amongst the
I can't
businesses?
say that because if an applicant says, you know, I need, you know, 7,000. And if it were all to be divided equally, I'm just gonna throw an arbitrary number out, 50,000. And someone says, you know, I don't need 50,000, I need 7,000. Then that kind of, that
that
raises
pot
the,
will go,
yeah,
you
that
know,
pot grows a
okay.
little bit more for
So
everyone
each
else.
story is unique, basically.
Exactly.
But, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Linda, that hasn't been decided yet. That's what that group is gonna decide is
Yes.
how that's gonna be divvied up.
Right.
But I'm just throwing a scenario out there.
Okay. Yeah, but that's up to them. So.
Okay, and then, so the first round should be distributed already, correct?
No,
Or
because
it
the
will
win-
be after the window
Yes,
closes
exactly.
Friday. So what about the second round? When's that window close? Or we don't know?
That window will close Friday as well.
Oh, the
So
window will
it-
close for both
Yes.
on Friday?
Yeah, that's the application window, because we need the funding to get out and
Right.
impact the businesses. Get those businesses that had to shutter and get them back to being open. So no, it's not a long drawn out affair. It's, we're moving as quickly as possible, following best practices, making, you know, good decisions and taking the time to really connect with the business owners through these case managers at Local First.
Okay.
And but now the one issue, is we're waiting for that money to come in. All that money is not in, so
That's-
they may be, everybody ready to go, but you can't just, you know, start giving some of the money out. There's a fairness issue in it. Do you wanna talk about the?
Right, and I kind of
Yeah,
alluded to that in the
that
very
relates
beginning,
to
but
how fast
we
we're going.
have pledges. We have, yes, we've had some funding come into the United Fund, but the majority, we have not received.
No.
And so we need to receive that in order to make those disbursements. And we know they're good for it. It's not that. So
Right.
but again, it gives us that time to do the intake, application process, you know, have those conversations with business owners. It also gives business owners a chance to do their research. You know, say one of the restaurants needs to replace all of their kitchen equipment. I mean, that takes a moment to get those kind of quotes, especially if say an Ansel system needs to be engineered. It takes a minute to get that type of research done. So again, everyone's doing their part, and that gives everyone a fair opportunity to be as competitive as possible for the funding that is available.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, to Linda, but it isn't Local First that'll be sending out the money. The actual handling of the money is United Fund?
It is, and it's based on the recommendations from Local First and the leadership group, but it's the United Fund that will be cutting the checks. And that was a way for administrative costs to be significantly reduced, is by taking that part out from Local First.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, so Linda, 100% of the money that's donated will be distributed.
100% of the money for both the business program, the Business Grant Relief Program, and the Residential Relief Program goes to impacted individuals. Administrative costs are coming out of a different line item from United Fund. And so back to your original question, why the United Fund? Because of that. Because you know every dollar that you donate is going to go to those impacted.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's real important. When you're looking at the quality of a distribution and an organization, how much actually gets passed through and given to the people in need. And in this case, the staff have been able to arrange this so 100% goes through, no administrative costs coming out of that donation money. And that's a win.
And we actually, so when I say the United Fund is working with additional partners to bring in more funding. So, you know, we hope to grow the pot even larger. We're working with private foundations from outside of Arizona and local philanthropy groups that are looking to make, sizable $15,000 to $25,000. And the question is, what are your administrative costs? And again, over and over, whether it be the local nonprofit that's looking to contribute, or it's an outside organization from another state, they're just taken aback that we can vouch that the administrative cost is nothing on this. And that's because we have it's a 65-year-old organization. We've been working in the community since 1964. Our largest stakeholder is Freeport-McMoRan, but it's also their employees. So this is an organization that supports local and is by locals. So we hope to impact as many business owners, as many residents as possible, and do so with fantastic partners. So thank you to the City of Globe for this council's contribution.
Good. And then just a brief comment. You mentioned that homeowners, if they can't afford their home, if some don't have homeowners insurance, like that individual say, I'm not sure if they do or not, so reach out to SBA for a loan. What concerns me, if they can't afford their insurance, how can they afford a new debt? So
And
how
I
do
can't
you
answer
tell?
that question. Unfortunately, it's the programs that we've spent most of the time talking about. This is emergency funding. It's funding of last resort, because you hope that businesses and residences do have some type of homeowners insurance, and of course that's not always the case, but there are other organizations, there's local churches, there's other philanthropy groups that may be out there. Do I have a list saying that this group will give you $10,000? No, I don't have that, but that's what we're working on, Connie and Pam. What are those other organizations that maybe someone can piece together resources to fix that, maybe assist with their situation?
Okay. And then just one last one, I'm sorry. Paul, can you kind of give the public a description about the gift clause? I've had people come to me and say, how come the city isn't paying all this, the bills? We can't. It's not up to the city to fix all these problems.
No, so the Arizona Constitution actually has, it's not state statute, but it was baked in with the creation of the state, that you can't take public funds and give it to benefit private individuals unless there is a material, and that's the Constitution. The court has ruled you can do that if there is a substantial direct benefit from doing that. We put money in, and something good comes back, and so that's what we have to look for. And we would love to be able to go out and help people, but we have to use the people's. It's not our money; it's somebody else's money. So then that asks the question: how are we able to donate $200,000 to this fund? And that is why we limited it to the City of Globe businesses, because the goal was businesses were shut on September 25th. Businesses were fine. September 26th, they're shut down. We lose tax revenue, sales tax revenue from these businesses when they're shut down. So it is in our best interest, the cities, to invest money to get them back online as quickly as possible, so we get that material benefit from them. They're making money and we're collecting taxes again. So that is the justification for why we're able to do that for businesses. We can't do that for homes because there is no material direct income coming back, and that's why we can't do that in the county or in Miami. Businesses there, we get them back started, and the tax money goes to someone else.
Right,
So that's why we had to limit that, and we talk about it a lot, but people are always like, what do you mean gift clause? What does that mean? But it's something that we live by, and is very much dealt with in the courts, that we don't, the whole Prescott rodeo thing, you know, it's just, it's everywhere. So by doing this in this way, we are in compliance with the gift clause. But we can't do much more in the way of direct payments or using taxpayer dollars. But what we can do is try to get, like say, get the infrastructure back also, and get things going so people can prosper, make money, we can grow, and as a community, everyone will benefit from the public good.
Good, thank you. Yeah, Article 9, Section 7.
I trust you.
In the Arizona Constitution.
Constitution, yeah.
Mariano would know that one, right?
I only know Title 26, that's all I can tell you. Mr. Mayor, I have some comments. Again, I'm referring to experience. A lot of these floods that occurred in Gila County occurred in rural areas. There is no city, there is no town, they're part of the county. And they did these things of creating a flood relief committee, going out and getting donations from the Home Depots of the world, and they did these things by themselves. Of course, they coordinated with the county, but the point is, we have the City of Globe in play for this one. And so we're able to admin to facilitate flood relief. I've never seen this before. And of course, yes, the amounts are there and they're large and what have you, and Globe's on the map right now. But the point is, we're able to facilitate this recovery moment because the city does exist. I've never seen that before. And so I want to thank all of our admin staff and all of our people for helping to facilitate this as we move forward. And it's a first for me. I've never seen a city take charge of, as best as it can, rules and regulations up there to move forward with it. And so the coordination, stepping in and reaching out and making sure that things are followed through, that's a first for me. It was always a band or a committee of people in the rural areas, Mike, doing it themselves by themselves. And the same stories appear. We're getting the donations from, the Home Depots of the world. We're getting those things, but this time the city's in play. And we have some wherewithal to do that. And that's one of the reasons that I always say I've never seen this before. It's because the city is in the middle of it and we have to help. And we're doing it. And it's not perfect. It's as the mayor said, is a learning curve. But we are in the middle of it and we're doing all we can to facilitate that. So we've always bragged about our staff, but this time around, my God, the miracles are out there. They are making it happen, and we're doing everything we can at every level to facilitate that funding coming in. Private donations is saving the day this time around. And I'm not yelling at the federal government, I'm not yelling at state government, I'm saying what they have seen before is that we're taking care of our own here. And I think that's very important to remind everybody we're in it together. And that's something that I like seeing. It's really tremendous to see. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got any more comments?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Mike, you got any more?
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, and Linda, don't leave quite yet. Just we have one person that chimed in. Shelley's going to share that, but I did want to bring in before we end John up and talk about 2 projects. And Linda, I have one more question for her, but let's go ahead and let Shelley read this one.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this text is from Tom Hawley. And he says, first I want to say that I think the council staff and crews are doing an excellent job. A comment. You might consider visiting with the village of Ruidoso, New Mexico. They have been through a number of disasters similar to ours in the past few years.
Just recently. I got a comment for just before release. No, I think all this was good information. These are all things that we're hearing out there. I think even I did in the beginning, we thought that there was a pot of gold out there that somebody in a white horse was going to drive in with a bunch of money and save everybody, and it isn't out there. I thought the state and the federal would come in and help us and help our business, help our residents. It's not happening. So we recommend that you take advantage of everything: donations, fundraisers, your own fundraisers, take advantage of those SBA loans, you know, they're low interest loans, and we're dealing with a major disaster, and there's losses, and there's nothing that you can do to recover 100% of what you lost. So, you know, pay attention to all this stuff, because we are learning even, and it's a shame, it really is.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, thank you. To piggyback a little bit off of that is the fact that we were talking about, and Linda has been upping the game on communication. It's very complex. There's a lot of people who, you know, we're using terms and organizations that are new to us, and you know, okay, now what is FEMA and what's DEMA and what is this NRC, whatever. So we're trying to up our communication and information, get it on the web, get it out. Linda, do you want to talk at all about kind of what you're adding to the?
You know, as far as
And then the phone number too, the single shot phone call.
Oh, yes. So as far as messaging, we've tried to share what the city has been doing for the past, what day are we at? 32? Is it? So 32 or 33, and so we've been trying to share that through city postings, through coordinating with the county, which obviously we had to do, and then the mayor's messages were very important, and being consistent in that, getting information out in a timely manner, seeing what the chatter was out there, and being responsive to that, and putting it on our website, and encouraging people to get the city app. So if you don't have it yet, get on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, and you can look up the City of Globe app and download that so you can get instant notifications of information coming from the city. Our articles through the Globe Miami Times. Right now, we're working on what did the first day after the floods look like when our incident command team. I mean, again, talk about terms. I never thought I'd be part of an incident command team, and I'm extremely proud to say I was and am. And learning from that, we've just had such a fantastic team. I wish I could talk hours about all of our staff. It's been a horrible situation, but a fantastic experience to go through with. I can't imagine the better people to go through it with. And so, but coming back to the sharing that with the community, that what did those 30 days look like? We were meeting every single day we were all here at like 7 o'clock that next day, and we met every day. We were here every weekend, 2-3 meetings a day, and this was just the incident command team, aside from finance, aside from debris, aside from logistics. I mean, everyone had their corners that they were covering, and so really sharing what did your city staff do for you and for the city to get to this point of hopefully recovery. So again, just putting that information out there and sharing, you know, what did that journey look like, and what are we working on today? What are we working on, you know, in the next 6 months, and what are we working on in the next 5 years? Because that's really how we're having to plan, and we are ready for that.
Do you have a date for a strategic action plan yet?
We do.
Yeah, so
It's all in your calendars. Our strategic action plan is, I believe it's in January.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gonna look a little different. Yeah.
I'd say.
We're gonna meet at the pool, and we're gonna meet underwater and talk.
I think we do need to schedule an after-incident review of this whole thing. What
Yes.
did we learn? You know, and that'll be part of our strategic action plan. Where do we go from here? 'Cause the world has changed. Our city has changed now.
But changing for the better. We're learned.
Yes.
We know more today than we did yesterday. So we're like I say, we build that in and build upon it and learn from, you know, what we've experienced.
Come back stronger and ready for the next one. Hopefully not a flood, but there will be something, and to be prepared for that and ensure our residents and our business owners that the city is prepared for that, to walk beside them. So let's bring John up, because we promised everyone a short meeting tonight.
Yeah. So Mayor, there were two active projects still flood related that we're still chasing down. And John's going to give you a brief overview. I think the 12-inch line, which is like say the second line, but still we're still chasing the sewer back down to the plant. Do you want to give a quick little update on sewer and then the water line?
So the sewer line, as you all know, the first initial issues that we have is all the way back, kind of by the bypass Buena Vista area where we're having debris back up. And we started chasing those. We kind of jumped a couple of sewer manholes. But we found as the weekends rolled in, we hoped that we had significant flow. And then, 6-7 hours later, we had another backup. And as you know, it's all flowing downhill. So we're chasing that. So once we got to certain levels, when we started working behind Salinas, that was the longest term issue that we had there, the most debris that we found. Working with the contractor, as you all know, we actually worked hours on end over that. But the best solution we all found, and as we met, is just to start back to where the creek really starts getting into, the debris got into the creek. So with its contractors, you've seen them in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they'll continue possibly. We're hoping by end of this week, they'll be completed with that task. But they've had 2 jetter trucks. Even at one point, we had 3. So they've been plugging the system, jetting the lines, camera the line, checking for the debris in there, and then moving down to the next. So you see a lot of access roads along the edges of the creeks. They've done those roads so they can get in there. So that's what they're actively doing. As of this morning, they started getting kind of right behind Salinas again, going towards Bawadi Street. They were picking up, we monitor our flows normally, the intake at our sewer plant. So once those levels start dropping, we know there's some type of blockage, happening at, upstream. So as of this morning, they found some blockage in that area again, right off the highway going into Bawadi. So they're actively working that. But they've been pulling a lot of stuff out of there, and it's, it's just rocks and stuff, sand. We've had some outlying side roads like Blake Street and stuff that has taken on some sand, but as you know, the sediment, once it's backing up, it's gonna go out to the side, So our staff has been actually finally trained on our equipment, so the goal there is to actually send our staff out to start doing some of the side trunk lines that feed into the main system. They'll start cleaning those out, working with the contractor in the next few days. And then, like I said, their goal was actually possibly 2 to 3 weeks out. They've been moving a little bit faster than they had hoped, so it's a good sign. But their goal is to make it all the way down to the plant. They're not gonna stop, even though the sewer line comes out of the creek at that point. We wanna make sure it's cleaner all the way through. So they've been actively doing that. The other project that we had talked about a few weeks ago was when we had our water system come down, or actually we're having the restrictions on our water. We have 2 12-inch parallel lines. One of them had the valve, actually the area, it had broke. Some of it was to the creek issue that we had, but then we were running off of one trunk line at that point, and then that one had an issue, and we think it was just basically the stress that it created running. So the bypass that was created then is still in place. The contractor actually was contracted to start doing that work last week, but they've been switched over just following the sewer line issue until that's completed. But he did bring in additional staff yesterday, so they started potholing and they're anticipating start breaking ground. They actually did a little bit of excavation today, and they're finding the fiber lines and making sure everything's in place before they start looking to replace that line. So we'll have both lines up and running. The other few things that we would be, is just like Linda, Paul were mentioning, we'll have that number that residents can call, because now, of course, we know our days are barely, projects is really just starting, because now we're starting to work in some of the streets, the potholes, the curbs, the gutters. There's so much more. And when we think about long-term in the creeks, that's a bigger picture. We can't do it fast enough, of course. But that is part of our process. But right now, we're starting to attack the everyday things as we would normally have seen after storm cleanup, after a monsoon. There's lots of piles of sand, still sediment. Even the downtown garbage cans, a lot of them have gotten damaged, so we're having to reestablish those. And those are the everyday things, but they do affect the public and the appearance and, just what we're trying to do. So those are the things that we're starting to address: handrails, sidewalks. So those are a lot of things we'll be looking at here in the next few weeks, sweeping the streets.
I'm thinking that, we have become the jetter truck, torture track. Cause I see a lot of jetter trucks out there and I see a lot of them getting just really worked hard. So, you know, you guys are learning, you know, just really knocking it out of the park and getting it done, just chasing it all the way back, so.
Yeah, and I would just add, Mayor, as you all know, many of you, we all witnessed the storms and the drainage issues around town. By witnessing these things, that our long-term planning downtown Broad Street off the US 60, there's a lot of areas you basically felt helpless, even though the drains they weren't keeping up. You know, so that's gonna be part of our design, part of, you know, we look at our sidewalk project. I've already spoke with the engineering, we stood out there, Mayor, you know, we're checking the drains and there wasn't enough drainage to get rid of the water. So we witness all those things and those create issues, but looking at the sidewalk project, looking at the bridge designs, where that it really comes, you know, it was one thing to witness it, now we have to change it. So it's, you know, we don't want to put it back to how it used to be, we want to make it better.
Any questions or comments for John?
At all the points I've been getting hit with, so good job, John.
Yeah, John, commend you and your staff, I know, and everybody's been working hard, but you guys, with limited staff and all the work you guys have had to deal with in the outskirts, have been amazing. I do have one question that was brought up to me, and just your recommendation. What do we do with all the sandbags? Do people really wanna store them, but they don't have the room to store them? Do we get rid of them and then redo them if we need them again in the future? I don't know, what's your recommendation?
Yeah, really, the sandbags really don't have a long shelf life, you know, out in this sun, so I see them a lot of times, I recommend them, I'm a gardening guy, so I tell them, well, if you just cut it open, it's actually good sand, a lot of people use them for different resources. We've talked about that this morning, that's why they're getting the laughter out of it, but we have to do some cleanup. There's some areas, so I think at some point along the edge of the roads, and so finding the best purpose for those, but they won't last very long. That's why even when we're trying to get ready for storms, we don't make them so far in advance, because that nylon material, they're not like back in the old days, they were made out of cloth and they would last a long time. Now, they're just nylon, so the shelf life is not very long. So if people are needing some of those in the downtown area, some of the outlying areas, we've talked about trying to come up with some solution to help individuals or, you know, residents to get some of those out of the way, because
We have a lot stacked downtown on sidewalks, I don't know if maybe they're expecting we're picking them up, or I don't know how that.
yeah, that was one of the concerns, is trying to get downtown. Of course, it's gonna be a long ways till we get it back to what but just to assist those areas by, you know, cleaning the sidewalks, the garbage cans, so we probably will coordinate some efforts to start picking some of those up there in the immediate areas. But there's other people that still utilize them for other stuff, so that's kind of what we've looked at. And the only other thing I did want to touch base on is, I know one of the questions sometimes is asked currently is we have the Haskins Bridge and the Yuma Bridge still closed. Yeah. We did have those inspections, I had, you know, spoke of that previously. Then we got some assessments for the repairs. So we're currently looking up for funding sources, what's the avenue to get them back to, you know, but they're not very cheap, you know. We've put in for some grants prior, and those are significant. And the one that Yuma specifically, you know, it's $413,000 estimated just to get it back to where it was at. For replacement, about 3.5 to 4 million, you know, for total reconstruction. So the issues with bridges like that, even if you replace it, the tonnage has gone down throughout the years. So we really would want to, you don't want to spend that kind of money just to get it to, you know, to be usable without, you know, because then you're not spending the money in its best, you know, shelf life. As you know, Haskins Bridge is less. So we've had that conversation with staff in our engineering department, so we're gonna be continuously looking to see what avenues we may be able to open those bridges back up, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, when does, I know those two bridges are on the priority list for CAG and RTAC. When do they make a decision? Do we wait till they get back in legislation?
Yeah, I don't know when, I don't know, the ultimate decision will probably not come out, we would not know for sure till like June of '26. But we have a pretty strong case for it, but you know, you just don't know. And so, like I say, do we want to invest that much money, knowing that there's a you know, a decent possibility that we may get it replaced. So we're gonna get together. We haven't talked to police and fire about this. This was a public works conversation, looking at both bridges and what the midterm strategy is for those bridges, and see where we're at on that. And it probably will come back to a infrastructure work group meeting coming up, probably before the next meeting. We're 3 weeks away from the next council meeting, so we may try to get the small group and kind of like lay out some of the concerns and some of the options. But yeah, we need to make some decisions about how we're going to address those issues. Again, we limited funds, and we got some stuff cooking, so, you know, it may be a temporary fix for a while. Or it may be a temporary closure for a while, for at least for Yuma. But that hasn't been decided yet. That's all still.
Mr. Mayor, I reached out to Richard at APS. Everyone's using the back streets to get to where they need to get to. It's because both bridges are out. I've asked him to find out if APS can install a couple more lights on the back road behind DeMarcos, because it's very dark there, and he's looking at it. I haven't had a reply back, but since this is gonna be out there for a while, both bridges, I think it's a safety concern.
Well, you need those lights on the downtown this way, you know, but
Don't
then
go there, Paul.
that now it's like, oh my gosh,
But
it is dark up there.
I do use that back road, and it's very dark at night. The first time I went on it after the flood, I thought, I'm surprised we haven't had an accident here, because there's no lighting there once you get off the hill. So we'll find out from Richard if he can make that happen. So we'll check it out.
I got a question, John. Thank you. Did you have a price on the Haskins Bridge?
On the Haskins
Just to
Bridge,
fix?
Just to fix, Haskins estimated was $276,398.
276?
Just to fix it?
Just to fix it to where it was at.
Replace it 3 million?
Yes, it's basically, it's actually almost 4 million for the Haskins.
So
It's a
just like
longer,
the
yeah,
Yuma Bridge.
Yuma's a little bit less, but it's a wider span, and then Haskins is a longer bridge, but a thinner, it's less, so. And then I think a big part of it too, when you start looking at handrails, because even by Silver King, that bridge, there's an estimation, it's almost $90,000 just to replace the handrails that you saw where the debris jumped at. You know, the repairs underneath, the scouring underneath it, it's not that much, but the handrails themselves, it's almost $90,000 to bring it up to standard.
So, and we hope, we think on Hackney, we can, is it Hackney or Haskins? Haskins. On Haskins, we can get, do some value engineering on that number. That was a preliminary number, but I think if we get a closer look at it and tighten it down, we may be able to get it down a little bit, but.
Yeah, and there is some cost estimate for debris removal and such, so that's stuff that we can, just like Paul said, those are costs that we can bring down and things that we can bring those, you know, so a little bit more significant, but they are still pretty high.
Guns cheap anymore.
John, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
John,
John.
thank you to all your staff.
So good?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Next, we go to consent calendar, and matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine or have been acted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may also remove any item for separate consideration. Item is A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. 1, accounts payable, $423,912.10. 2, consideration of approval of council minutes. A, July 8th, 2025 minute file. B, July 29th, 2025 minute file. And C, October 1st, 2025 meeting minutes. Item B is consideration to approve contract number PS 20260058 with Dean Runyon Associates, a professional service agreement for $3,500 to measure the economic impact of travel and tourism for the fall of 2025, funded from account 1066512234, Economic Development Contractual Services. And item C is consideration to approve contract number MOU 2026-0052 with the state of Arizona, Arizona Rangers, a voluntary law enforcement assistance organization. Is there anybody from the public, staff, or council wishing to move any of them items for separate consideration?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we would request that we pull 4C, the Arizona Rangers, and just to acknowledge them. And then that's the only item to pull.
Can we take the action to take care of the other items first? Because I'm gonna make a motion to accept items A, B, and.
Yeah, just you would approve consent minus.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda item as presented, except for, 3C, which will be discussed.
4C.
4C.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Second.
Motion second for approval of consent agenda is read minus 4C. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passed. 4C, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. A couple of things. We were discussing partnering with the Arizona Rangers prior to this tragic event that took place here. And we had started the process of approving the MOU between us and the Arizona Rangers. We kind of pushed it to the forefront because of the need. We want to bring them up at a later date in a council meeting to publicly thank them. The amount of support that we had from them on a moment's notice was amazing. With all the closures and things that we had in the downtown area, it really saved us. And it was at no cost to the city. They were a tremendous partner with all this, and we're looking forward to a long, healthy relationship working with them. They're incredibly dedicated. A lot of them are prior law enforcement, and they were really hugely beneficial to the community and the business owners, particularly down on Broad. Any questions concerning that? I did put on some challenge coins for each of the council members earlier. And the last thing I want to say, and it was kind of after all of this, in my role in all of this, in the beginning, we were at the very forefront because of the need for it and everything like that, which was obvious. But after the initial threat got over and we were able to identify we had no more victims, we became a support role. And I can't commend my peers within the city strong enough for their efforts in all this. John and his crew have been amazing. The finance department, Eric, everybody in the city has really stepped up, and it's amazing. And you're truly right, Mayor. We are in a different role now, and we're going to have to make some hard decisions moving forward. But I think all of us learned a tremendous amount. And everybody that we worked in so diligently and so hard through all of this, I just wanted to say thank you to all of them. So you should be very proud of the staff that you all have, because they did a really, really, really good job.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, the proof is in the pudding. I would come in and ask for a copy of the situation report and the initial creation of it, and all I had to do, if I needed to know what you guys were all doing, was read the report. And that's just the initial few days. The staff drank the Kool-Aid. They realized the effectiveness of writing a situation report. They were coached by the incoming emergency management team, and that was their rhythm, their battle rhythm. So all I had to do any given day was come in and read the report. I didn't need to speak to anyone in the EOC, although I did a couple times. But the point was, all I had to do was read it. And it was effective, it was focused. Shelley loved it, I know you said that. And the point being that, again, the staff was shifting gears easily and drinking the Kool-Aid and moving on. And that is something I find very pleasing. The staff is incredible, they really are. So thank you, Chief, for your work.
One last thing, I want to pick on somebody specifically while I'm here. Kendall is amazing. He's my hero, and he's a fire guy, sir.
Yeah, how about that?
Don't pat him on the back.
The things that he accomplished the first couple of weeks of this event were just remarkable, and he did such a great job. He communicated incredibly well, not just with us, but with the citizens, and he got the job done. And he was just a shining example to emulate as we move forward. So thank you very much, Kendall. I appreciate you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor.
motion for approval of item four C?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item four C. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. New business 5A, consideration to approve the 12D Gaming Regulatory Grant Award GO 2656050077 for $10,910.33 from the San Carlos Apache Tribe received through account 2042080882 12D Tribe ATV Drone Fire Department, Police Department, which the Fire and Police Department will utilize to assist in the purchase of ATV vehicles and a drone for public safety use. Connie.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to indulge me for a second, I would like to explain the 12D grant funding. So there was somebody from the public came to council meeting and put out some information, and I just want to clarify that information. So 12D funding does come from every tribe across Arizona. And the way that it is written is that the tribes will give out 10% of their revenue, okay? So people would automatically think that they have millions and millions of dollars in order to give out to the surrounding communities as it's mandated. However, when it says revenue, that's after they have disbursed their revenue checks to their tribal members from their gaming, okay? So then, after all of that is dispersed, the remaining amount is 10% that they are obliged to give to the surrounding communities. And most of them choose to do it in form of a grant because that makes it fair and impartial. So I think at that point, I would ask you guys to accept the $10,910.33 because this is what the tribe had to give in this grant funding.
Does that need a waiver, because it's a new business, do we need to waive the rules?
Yes, I would like for you to waive the rules, sir.
Because that money's being awarded
Yes,
tonight, isn't it, or
tomorrow,
tomorrow? Okay.
during the day.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just to be absolutely clear, so this is the revenue is generated through their tribal gaming compacts. And that was, putting those compacts in there was an agreement that they would share some of that gaming with other, outside the tribe. So it's gaming money.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion that we approve the awarding of the grant as presented.
Second.
Waive the rules.
Wait, oh yeah, waive the
Oh,
rules, I'm
waivers.
sorry.
Okay.
Got a motion, we got a second
Second.
from Councilman Gonzalez. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Go.
Item B is consideration to approve grant award GO 2656060076 for $2,500 for Arizona Public Services, from Arizona Public Service received through account 2042089998 miscellaneous grant revenue, which will be utilized to assist First Fridays with tables and chairs for the food truck area.
So this award comes at a really great time, $2,500 so that we can buy tables and chairs for First Friday. But, it's also piecing together grants, which is something I kind of like to do. So earlier this year, we had Resolution who awarded us grant money to purchase a trailer in order to put these tables and chairs in. So we're coming along with getting small awards in order to make our events even bigger. So I would ask that you would waive the rule and accept this award. Please.
Comments or questions? I motion to approve item 5B as read and waive the
Prior discussion rule.
prior discussion rule. I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 5B. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
No action items, no late agenda items?
No action items, no late agenda.
Public, do we have anybody online?
Nothing in, email, we addressed that one, anything?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
So no second call to public.
Scheduling the meetings?
Just a reminder, because of Veterans Day and Thanksgiving, we've combined those two meetings into the, rescheduled to the one November meeting on the 18th. And, that's a Tuesday though, right?
It is a Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday the 18th.
Okay. Future agenda items?
Mr. Mayor, I had two thoughts. We had sidebarred once before about the creation of a community emergency response team. And I'd like to bring that to the Public Safety Committee for discussion. And the second item is to support the creation of a Red Cross chapter here in the region. We do not have one. And I'd like to also bring that to the Public Safety Committee. The point being, it's time both were created, and we've got to find a way to sponsor them. Maybe tie them to the fire department. Payson has a community emergency response team. It's about a 6-week course, and they can be activated for any purpose that they are trained up to. And so that's one item. And the second item is not having a Red Cross chapter here in the region is a deficiency that I note. And while we have resources around the state to draw from, it's always better to have a team in place. And I don't know if Payson has one at this time, but I think we need to jump on that and bring that for discussion to how we can support that through the Public Safety Committee. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Look at those.
Paul, I got a couple of them. If we're ready to look at that, then revenue spent with this disaster declaration, I don't know if we are. I see we're already looking at hiring a contractor to see what our projections may be, loss projections, I guess, because of the disaster.
Yeah, we still believe that we can stand with just the single emergency declaration, and everything funneled through that. That, for us, that was the big, the first one was the big, event. Miami's got more damage on the Sunday morning, than we did, so I think we're still looking at a single, but, you still have the ability to do that and do it on your own. We don't have to have a council meeting to do that if it becomes necessary. But so far, everything I'm seeing is we're good with the one that we're operating under.
Okay. And then the other one be just to discuss the discussion on possibly some contractors that weren't covered, where do we move forward with them? I think with our SAP that we need to, as we move forward, with some of the things we learned is although we had numerous contractors in our community, we couldn't use them because they weren't on state contract, which is something that we need to look at.
So there's multiple issues there. The DEMA wants to have, while emergency procedure gives you emergency procurement, if you want to get reimbursed, it needs to be on state contract with DEMA. And then you had people who self-deployed, and those reimbursements are they are not allowed under that. But I know there's a discussion about, it's a mixed message for people who help. And I'm happy to have those conversations, but we first need to get a handle on where we are internally and going forward on that. So that one, I don't see happening at the next two meetings. I think we need to get, we're hearing that it's gonna take 3 months just to find out from FEMA whether we're gonna hit the 75 or the 90%. I think we're going to be planning for 75% because that's the more likely scenario. If it turns out that we get 90, that's good. But I don't want to plan for 90 and then be disappointed and blow everything up. But no, as we move forward, I know that's on the list of things that we want to look at as to how we manage the ultimate paying for this disaster. It's gonna, like I say, we're gonna have to budget. They always say the budget is a roadmap, and the road just kind of got swept away.
That's for sure.
So,
washed out, yeah.
and now, just, I wouldn't be, and I see a path, I don't see any, I see some hard decisions, but I don't see total, doom and gloom. I think what we'll be looking at is redirecting capital projects that were going to one direction, that we're gonna have to reel back and cover what's going on here. I see WIFA loans are gonna be I think a lifesaver, although WIFA loans are for future and not for current. So we're still getting a handle on that, but, like you had said, we do have a rainy day fund. I want to protect that. And then there's that balance of what did we spend that we still have the option of getting reimbursed, and then what was a true cost to us that we don't have that option. Once we know those numbers, then we can see what kind of flexibility we have to see if we can, do to make things right and to divvy up. So, but that's going to be a longer conversation, because right now we're still getting a handle on costs, invoices, contracts. We moved fast. We got a lot of people out there to help us, and it was a phone call to a couple contractors like, we need you, and Travis was like,
Freaking out.
yeah, he's like, I want to do the paperwork for this. And it's like, yeah, we're gonna work on that.
He's trying to
But
figure out
that
where
was
all the coffee
we
cans
needed to
are for
have,
money.
we need to have people, we still have people moving quick because of the emergency, because it can't wait. And we need to get a handle on that spending. I will say that there's very little emergency spending going on right now, other than wrapping up a few of the public works things. Then we'll get it lined out, start doing the math, see where we're at, see what we have that we can redirect, and then see what will be, likely reimbursed, and piece together, basically an updated, amended budget.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Paul, did anyone from the emergency team draft an after-action report? Or are you going to assign that to someone to write for these events?
I was afraid to speak in those meetings, so I'm gonna have Gary. I just took orders in those. So Gary,
Mr. Mayor, I've had a long career, and the proof is in the pudding. The after-action report is a seminal document we may be able to use going forward into the strategic action plan. So you've got it, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Gonzalez, to your question, yes, so, we will have, number one, I requested with, in particular to the group from New York City that came in to assist, an after-action review, with our staff and with their group on what went well and recommendations, and then my intention is to ask them to put something in writing over that they can send over to us to review that, so we have an opportunity in-house to look at that when it comes to drafting any future plans and stuff. They've been very gracious in that they've offered us a lot of free training. All we would have to do is pay to get there. But they're more than willing to sit in and work with us and help us in any way. They've been a great asset and a great opportunity to network and learn from a group that does it on a fairly large scale on a fairly regular basis. So
excellent, thank you. Okay.
and Mr. Mayor, members of council, I believe this is going to be an ongoing process as we explore and find out both what happened and what we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's going to be sorted out in our strategic action plan. Yeah. And we can have that conversation of what do we need to know, what presentations, what information do we need to plan going forward. And so I see a lot of those presentations being lined up and defined in that we can bring forward after the strategic action plan. Because like say, after action report, we're kind of still in the middle of the action. So, but there'll be the technical one that we're talking about, that's important. But as for the city, the strategic action plan is going to be the redirection. that is where council will steer us in the proper direction.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have motion for adjournment?
Motion to
Motion second to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned, thank you for attending.